Real estate investing can bring big reward and big risks. So know your risks. Welcome to the Real Estate Risk Report, the show for real-world insight on real estate investment risk. Now, here's your host, Lance Pederson.
Thank you for joining the Real Estate Risk Report. I'm your host, as always, Lance Pederson. So today I have with me, straight out of Brookings, South Dakota, Dusten Hendrickson, Mr. Mailbox Money himself. How you doing today, Dusten?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, happy to have you on the show. So, a bit of backstory. I've seen that Dusten's in South Dakota. I'm a North Dakota guy. You know, there's not a fierce rivalry really between North and South Dakota. I think we're pretty friendly. So I'm happy to have him on as a guest and sort of pick his brain, about investing in real estate. And he's a busy guy. Lots of stuff going on. So why don't you share a little bit with us, sort of, how did you kind of get into real estate? I know you've got several different businesses and things going on, but maybe how did you kind of get into this game where you're, looking at properties all around the country and commercial real estate and multifamily?
Well, I leveraged one of the most important relationships, my mother. She is the one that wanted to get into real estate, and I pitched it to her. I said, hey, I'll build something for us. I didn't know how to build, never really built before, but I've just figured I can figure out how to build. And by all the relationships I have, if I ran into trouble, I would just ask those people. And that's exactly how it went. I did a lot of things more than once on my first build, but I just learned how to build by just going and starting to build. And I think you can do a lot of things in real estate that way. The first go around's not as profitable, obviously, as once you get started. But I just started building duplexes and single family homes and keeping them. And I owned a roofing company. So I slowly built up a little portfolio. Then I realized I didn't really want to own a roofing company. So I got into just building homes. I realized I don't like to build homes for customers, though. I like to build my own stuff for me. And I was mainly building to do the design work. So I was doing 90% of the job or 95% of the job to do 5% that I liked. I slowly started to scale up and got to a point where I was completely unfocused and doing way too many things at one time because I'm super ambitious and I got into a lot of projects over my head, wasn't able to focus on the stuff. So I started flatlining. Money was coming in enough to cover everything. I was not gaining anything. And then I realized there had to be a different way. I found syndication, flew down to Nashville, went to a Jake and Gino presentation, and basically realized this is it. This has got to be the thing. So I tested it out to make sure it was actually accurate, because where I'm from, there's not a very high level of sophistication, very unsophisticated, more about hard work, saving the money, saving the equity, paying things down, more of an old school mentality, real estate. So I applied the syndication model to what I was doing. And then I just started selling all my single family and duplexes that weren't cash flowing well, and just started putting that money into investments. And I learned that you can become an LP investor and make just as much money if you pick a good partner as you can by going and buying up all these little mom and pop rentals and doing it all yourself. So I basically am fully transitioning into syndicating. I am a GP, but I'm also passive on the GP side. I bring money to deals and I find deals and introduce people, and I help on the design side, and I do some marketing and some rebranding. But for the most part, I'm silent. I'm not a day-to-day guy. I don't really want to get involved. I'd like to help with everything I can, but I don't want to be the one that you're relying on for day-to-day operations, because that's a huge time commitment. Yeah. And I like to put my time in on the front end, the visionary stuff, figure out if I like the deal, how can we improve the deal from a living situation. I'm not really a numbers guy either, so I always partner with a CFA type.
Yeah, no, that's smart. I mean, that's just it. It's a team sport, right? And everyone brings something to the table, lots of moving parts in these deals. And I think I was just recording a podcast, someone else's podcast, right? And then we were drilling into that, what's your thing? Just knowing who you are and what your thing is and focusing on that, right? And one thing, you're just happier. I mean, obviously it's just, you enjoy what you do, and it's not a drag where you're trying to do all the stuff that you're mediocre at. And, but it takes time to get there. It takes time to learn and be self-aware enough, hey man, I get too many things going on. that's not the thing. How can I figure out how to partner with others, and and like you said, just that leverage the time that you do spend, get more out of it. So for you, I mean, you're kind of the mailbox money thing. I've heard that for quite some time, but you've sort of coined it and owned it. And so give a little insight into that, like when that became, it sounds like you got a little bit of a marketing tinge to you too. So has that been super effective for you? When did you start really leaning into just #mailbox money?
Well, I don't know. I kind of learned, I don't consume content very much. So I just create it. And I kind of learned from creating content that I needed some sort of hashtag to brand myself with. My buddy just made a comment about mailbox money one time. Like, yeah, you're just all about getting that mailbox money or something like that. Cause that's really what I want. That's really my goal, is to be 100% passive. So I just was like, hey, mailbox money, it's kind of hip. It's kind of fresh. I'll just run with it. I'll just take it.
Yeah, no, I think it is. And it's, it's like, it's been floating out there. I mean, people have been saying it, but no one's owned it. Right. So it's like, it's a good piece of real estate to own that no one was sort of claiming. So I like that. So, so with you, I mean, as you do evaluate these things, I mean, do you do much investing in Brookings or in South Dakota, Sioux Falls? I mean, yeah,
I do. I mean, a lot less than I did, but I feel like now it's becoming a better market. When you want to talk about risk, where this is the risk report.
Yeah.
If you talk about risk, the Midwest, specifically the upper Midwest where we live, is incredibly stable. It's one of the most stable markets there are. I mean, even North Dakota goes up and down a little bit more than we do because of the oil, but towns like Fargo they don't boom and bust much. The bigger cities seem to be super stable up here.
Yeah. So in particular, which ones do you like? I mean, is it Fargo, Sioux Falls?
Yeah, I don't know as much about Fargo. I don't know much about Fargo, so I don't really invest there. I know it's a great city, but my favorite upper Midwest city is Sioux Falls. Yeah. Maybe it's just because I know the most about it, or maybe it's because I've just seen how it handles recessions. It's pretty much recession proof. It doesn't get impacted at all. Like if you went there to Sioux Falls now, you would not really know that COVID was even going on.
Yeah, I know.
Towns are packed. Yeah. The bars are packed. The restaurants are busy. Target's busy. Walmart's, everything's busy. Mm-hmm. Some people are wearing masks. Some people aren't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. My brother and sister-in-law, they live there, and that's basically what they've said. And it's been growing. It's been steadily growing, and and it seems like their city planning is pretty good in terms of, it's not sprawling too bad. I mean, that's one of the issues. Some of these Midwestern towns is that they can sprawl, right? But it seems like whoever's doing the master plan, or the city manager in Sioux Falls, is, it's becoming a nice, small, big city almost. I mean, it's well built and good infrastructure. And like you said, the industries are diverse. There's a lot of what Sanford Health and, so some of that, the typical stuff you'd expect, but it's a good economic base. And of course it's well positioned, within the Midwest too. I mean, you can kind of get a bunch of places from there, and industries moving there, some bigger companies that do business there. So, how about any other markets that you like? Omaha or
Omaha's okay. I don't know. I haven't found a deal there. I would buy there. I just haven't found a deal there. I've got some partners that are doing some deals there, but when they're doing their deal, we usually have one in Sioux Falls at the same time. So I just like to focus on that. I don't want to get too many deals on my plate at one time. I'd rather just be a little more patient. I think when you first get into the real estate game, or even if you've been in the real estate game for a while, there's always this thing where you want to get every single deal and you want to do every single deal.
Yeah.
And I kind of ignore that. I've learned to just say no a lot more than I say yes, because there's so many deals available. And I don't want to be involved in every single one, but I do. Omaha's okay. Kansas City's okay, but I still like the fundamentals of Sioux Falls better than both those towns. I think the median income's higher and the crime is lower. There isn't very much sprawl either, because the farmland I think the farmland keeps the sprawl in check. The farmland's still worth a lot of money and it produces, so it keeps the city smaller.
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah. And I wasn't sure why it seemed like it was. I mean, because some of these places, they just seem like developers just go crazy and they just start. I mean, like Bismarck is a great example. I mean, it was okay, and they've got sort of some topography that keeps it in check, but you saw them just sprawling north. Like it just keeps going north, and there's a bunch of patches in between, and it's So for you then right now, what's sort of your method? Like you said, you say no a lot more than yes. So what is sort of those filtering criteria for you? Like, is it sponsor specific? Like, hey, I've got these relationships with these guys, so I kind of stick to that. And then even within that, you're sort of saying like, pass. Okay, I like this one.
Yeah. I don't invest with every single deal with my sponsors because I have multiple sponsors. Sometimes it's just timing though. But the location's the most crucial for me. I really don't like any C-class locations. Even some people like C-class. It's C-class building is fine for me, but I prefer a B to A-class location. It's always about location for me. If I think it's rough at all, I'm not really that interested. I don't want to be the first person that comes in to gentrify an area. I like to come in, middle or to the end on those areas. So it's really, really location specific. So I like really peaceful, quiet locations, or else if they're a busy location, I want to actually have like a busy location property on there, like where a mixed use property does better on a busier location than say a fully residential. Yeah. It's a fully residential. I like it off the beaten path a little bit. So it's really peaceful.
Yeah.
And that's the most important. Look at the location first, then look at the sponsors and all that after because most deals I just throw them away instantly just because of the location.
Right. And how are you getting these deals? Is that you just like subscribe to every one of these investor clubs that you can, meaning like you're on everyone's mailing list and you're just.
Yeah, I try to be on everyone's mailing list. A lot of that stuff goes to spam actually, but once in a while I'll find something I really like. But I just try to get personal relationships with people. And because I know a good operator, even if I don't like the location as much, a good operator can outperform with a poor location over a poor operator with a great location. So the operator is still important, but location is always number one for me.
And then for you, when you come into a deal and you invest, like you said, you might bring other people in. Is that when you'll sort of form, like you become sort of a co-GP and maybe take a piece of the management entity, and then you basically tell your tribe of followers, like, hey guys, I think it's a great deal. Yeah. You work with the operator to sort of get all the OM and all that together and put in your 2 cents of
So Omar Khan and Zach Happenstall Zach's in Phoenix. Omar's doing a lot of stuff in Atlanta right now, but he also does some stuff in Dallas or the Texas area, San Antonio. But those two I've been with for a long time. So now I'm blasting them all over the place because I don't even have to look at their investment to know that I want to invest. That's how much I trust those guys. Yeah. I pretty much know that if they have an investment, I'm going to want to invest with them. So I have no qualms with anything they do. I still like to look at the location, but they're just turning big time profits, especially in Phoenix. The stuff when I first started investing with Zach was like $90,000 a door. Now it's up to about $150 a door. So it's really, really good appreciation. And then they're also meeting all of their numbers. Their cash flow is good. They're flipping the units. They're making progress. So I do keep track of their numbers, as well, to make sure that they're doing the right thing. But now I really don't have to with those guys. I have a great relationship, and now I can just move on and look at some other operators and start building more relationships. I usually just bring my own money in the first deal because I don't really like to bring in other people's money unless I've already had my money in with the group.
Yeah. And so so you've got a bunch of people kind of looking to you to provide that signal, like, okay, there's a there. And then for them, they just go straight in as LPs alongside when you're investing as an LP. Yeah. So the only extra thing is you might get is that if you turn your tribe onto it, maybe you've got a piece of some of the upside or promote or whatever.
Yeah, I'll get a little bit of the GP. I don't get that much though. It's just strictly because I don't want to, this is the value I'm offering. How much is it worth? I'm not the guy that you want to look to for anything that goes on later on down the road. I will have like creative solutions. Like if you are having problems with the property, I can get involved with creative solutions and stuff. But for the most part, I'm not involved at all in any of the meetings or any of that stuff, unless there's issues. Anytime it's going good, I don't really need to be involved on that side.
Got it. So you might be kind of one of the more sophisticated guys that steps in and they'll trust to pull you in to say like, hey man, we've got some issues sort of with some tenants or whatever. And we just need to put our heads together and figure out how we're going to work out of this. And then you'll go in and drop in and And
yep. And I've been involved with with every part of the real estate part, getting the loan, from being, basically I was the only one involved in some of my first projects. So I had to do everything, and I've run into almost every single issue. So when an issue pops up, I can help with those issues.
Yeah. So it looks like too, you'll go and take a look. I mean, if you like a deal, you're going to kind of fly and walk the property and,
yep.
And are you kind of doing some marketing stuff too? Cause I see you bring someone is that what you're talking about? You guys kind of do marketing, like drone footage and that kind of stuff?
So Drew Durtian is my videographer, photographer, graphic design guy, whatever you want to call it. But he does all the video style stuff. He puts it together, creates the videos, chooses the music. He's really musically inclined. So he's got some good music for the most part on the videos and he, paces the video for the music. And so we offer that. We can brag about syndicators. Most syndicators don't know how to brag about themselves. So we come in and we brag about them for them, or we brag them up for them. And then I also have a lot. I have more exposure on LinkedIn than most people, I'd say, for the real estate side. So people will see you on LinkedIn, and then you can get your name out there that way as well.
Yeah. And so it's just like a professional service you're offering, like, hey man, we can help you guys do this. And it's like selecting any other vendor or is that so?
No, it's kind of just, hey, I'm going to be on the team. This is what the value I bring. How much is this worth for you? And so if I'm on the team and they're like, a lot of times too, I'll get less of a percentage because they don't think that what I do is very important. And then later on down the road, I'll get more percentage because they're like, hey, we do all the day-to-day stuff. You don't do any of the day-to-day. This is what we'll give you. And I'll be like, all right, that's fine. We'll do one project like that. Then I can give you all my value. And if you think I'm worth more, then we can do a little bit higher percentage on the next one. Otherwise, I would probably only be, with that percentage, I'd probably only be willing to invest my own money or bring in some capital. I wouldn't really be involved at all. So I kind of negotiate after the fact on a lot of stuff. I like to show people what I do and add value prior to figuring out what I'm going to get. Yeah. And just let them put it in their court. Like, hey, do you want me on this project or not? If you don't, it's not a big deal. And if you don't think I add that much value, then no big deal. I'll probably bring my funds to a different deal next time.
Yeah, no, exactly. No, I mean, it works well, right? I mean, I think that's the neat part about it is that, with this, I mean, it's kind of what's happening. It's the general trend, right? It's the sort of gig economy thing is that this didn't, growing up and we're at the same age, like, and you kind of alluded to it. I mean, I was just telling the guy in the last podcast, I'm like, you understand when you come from a small town, right? Like they don't want you to leave and everything tells you that the rest of the world is like, it's scary. Don't go there. Right. Yeah. And it's kind of odd. And it's just like, no one leaves. And if you leave, it's like, you're crazy. And that's how it used to be. Right. I mean, at least when I was a kid and growing up, and then and I'm sitting there going, I don't know, man. I think there's more out there. I think you need to sort of go explore. Right. And then you do it. But now like I don't know about that. I think that's still true in those smaller towns where they kind of have that mentality, that fixed mindset. And I mean, not to knock them. That's just kind of how it is. But now you think about it, man, it's like everything is, it's the world is flat and like everything is, I mean, it's like for us, I mean, this whole business, like the number of clients I have in Portland, Oregon is like, I don't know, 2, 3, like none. All the clients are everywhere, all the way down to Florida, New York. I mean, like Ohio, California, Texas, everywhere, and it's just, and then the ability to bring, like you said, you bring your strengths to whatever the situation is. And there's a way to, it's just not like going and working at the factory for 30 years. Like you said, is like you figure out what you're good at and how you can bring value in your way. And there's just more and more and more of that happening. I mean, even in this space, when I first sort of got into it, I felt like everyone in the space, like real estate guys, like even across bounds, was like playing this zero-sum game. It was just like, it's my investor. Like I own them and I've got to protect everything. Everything I do is protected and it's just me versus the world. And what's happened in the last, 3, 4, 5 years, which is great, is that everyone's starting to realize like, you got to chill out. Like, it's just not that cutthroat. I mean, yeah, I get it. Like if you're in the same market, sub-markets or whatever, and you're competing for the same 50 to 150 unit, okay, you're competing with one another. You guys might want to buy the same property, right? And that could happen. But you hear a lot more guys now going like, why the hell are we bidding up the price on this thing? Why don't we just collaborate and do it together? right?
Yeah,
Like that. Yeah, that's just how it should be.
Yeah, that's 100% accurate what you just described. So I don't play that game at all anymore. If someone else wants the property way worse than me, I'm not going to bid it up for that guy just to have to pay more money. And I know there's a lot of people that actually do that.
Yeah.
I would rather say, yeah, you can have this one, and then go talk to him and say, hey, there's another one coming up. Maybe we should just partner on it. We don't need to raise the price up. And if they still say no, that's fine. I actually compete with nobody. I really compete with nobody. I do take a lot of people's tenants per se. That's just because I build and design and value add really nice finishes. So we do take other people's tenants, and I might be competing with them, but I don't look at it like that. I look at it as I'm giving the tenant a much better key place to live. And here I'm going to upgrade everything, and the tenant gets a better place to live. I don't look at it as I'm taking a tenant from someone else, or someone's taking my tenant. And I look at it the same way as that the gig economy, just like you're saying, like, here's what I can add. What do you think? And then are we good? And then I'm like, okay, it's not as much as I want on this deal. That's fine. If I add what I think I can add, and these guys see my value, then the next one, it's going to go up higher and higher. And then plus like a percentage based deal, sometimes you'll look at it and you're like, man, I should have got more on this deal.
Yeah.
I should have got more on that deal. This guy in part of the deal is not doing as much work as I am, and he's getting more money than me. But you also have to look at it like, you need to get in the door, and getting in the door is the most important thing. And once you're in the door, then you can start to negotiate more percentages and show what your actual value is. If you go and say, hey, here's what my value is, and then they're like, oh, we don't want to pay you that, and then you never get in that door, you never know what could have been.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And like you say with sharing your investors, I actually don't safe harbor any investors, because I'm actually trying to help the investor. I don't need that investor's money, or I don't need their percentage to go to my bottom line. And if it does go to my bottom line, great. If I added value and somehow it does go to my bottom line, that's the goal. But if it doesn't go to the bottom line, I'm not hurt about it. And if that investor wants to be on someone else's mailing list, good for them. And then also that way, I'm not protecting and hoarding and spending all my time hoarding. I actually am just promoting more deals.
Yeah, that's right. No, I love the mindset, man. And it shows through. I mean, like I could tell. I'm not, and I'll tell you, I'm not surprised. That's what I mean. Like there's some of these things, these are these like Midwestern roots. I mean, despite some of the things where they're a little overly conservative or whatever, it's sort of how, I mean, at least that's how you're brought up. Like this is how it is. That's the beauty of being in a community, is that you realize that it is give and take and is share, and and you're in it together, and not to knock like those that are from the coast, but they're a little bit more, they're like that. They're just sort of like, to myself, I'll do it on my own, and I'm, whatever.
Yeah.
Why are you doing that? You're making it more difficult than you need to.
Long game pays off big time. And it's not even and a lot of times it's not even the person, it's your survival instincts kicking in, telling you need your part, you need your piece. It's your ego. It's all that stuff telling you that you need more of the deal, because those other guys on the deal, they're saying the same thing. They're also saying the same thing. They're like, oh, I should have more of this deal, more of that. So what if you're the guy that's, not thinking that? If you can eliminate that, come into the deal and only give, it almost always works out for you in the long run. It seems like it works out, and it actually seems like it works out much better. Like currency means to circulate. Once you start giving away your money, it's crazy how much more it comes back.
Yep.
Well, the more you protect and hoard your money, the more that it blocks the flow, and now it stops coming in as fast. Start giving it away, and it'll cycle even faster than you can imagine. And I've just learned that concept. Finally, I've heard of it.
Yeah.
But I put it into practice just recently, and it's amazing how good it works.
Yeah, no, it's like you said. I mean, it's like, you start doing it, and it's how you kind of think of it. And then you start to see the fruit of that. Like, oh, I need to do more of it. I need to let it go. I need to be willing to take the less and just prove and demonstrate. And then you start to see what ultimately is probably reciprocity, right? That's kicking in. It's just the human tenet. I mean, one of my favorite books is Persuasion by Robert Cialdini. And I read it once every year, like around this time, because it's just, as humans, we are hardwired to certain things, right? And of course, many of these sort of charlatans and shysters take advantage of these things. right? But once again, you can use these things for good too. But that's what it is. It's saying, look, I'm not going to argue about it. I'm going to give value first, but it triggers reciprocity. That's why I tell people when they like looking for fund advice, whatever, what can I pay you? Like they know they want more, and and they want to do a transaction and say, I want to give you money, Lance. And I'm like, listen, I don't want to take your money right now. I'm going to tell you, right, in this 30 minutes, what you need to know. Like, I'll just give you the freaking answers. Right. And my hope is that that's good enough. I don't want to take your money because it changes the nature of the relationship. It just does. Now we've got this other thing where we're going to have to recalibrate what this exchange did. Right now, all of a sudden, now I'm going to put a value on it. And then your idea of how much you should get out of that versus mine. And you're going to feel the need to extract as much as you can. When it's much like you, Dustin, like you're just saying, dude, I'm going to do my thing. Cause you know what? I don't want to do all the other crap. Right. And the second that I sign up for more, then you're going to want more of me and I'm going to be doing things I don't want to do.
Yep.
Right. Same thing. It's like, I'll just give you the freaking answers. It's no big deal. It's just like, it's stuff I learned. I'll just give it to you. Yep. Right. There's other ways down the road. And by doing that's that currency. It's like, I'll give you what I've got. I mean, I don't have much. I don't know much about most things. I know some things, a lot about certain things, and I'm willing to give you as much as I can of it that you can consume. But, at the end of the day, I don't want to do anything that's going to jeopardize the potential for a long-term relationship where I'm going, man, you're a pain in the ass. And now you're trying to extract every little ounce of my time out of me, which is more valuable than the price I even put on it,
Yeah.
So it makes a lot of sense. So, for you then, now that you've kind of made this transition to passive, or you've taken, worked hard, got your money, kind of put in these deals, obviously Mailbox money, there's income coming in the door for you. What about your other businesses you started? I mean, are those sort of like you e-myth those things and like they just run themselves, or are you like, how does that work? Because you said you got these other businesses. Do you still like they like operational out there trying to like win bids and do jobs and things?
I delegate to people until they fail, and then I find someone else to delegate that to. I try to give them a little attention. I probably always should give people more attention than I do, but it's super hard to do that. And I don't mind when people fail from doing versus not fail because I'm telling them what to do. Like if someone can't if they need my advice too much, it's not going to work ever. So then I have to redelegate anyways. So I do let them fail. But yeah, I don't really think about it. I guess they're kind of on autopilot. It's not like I have any e-commerce type businesses that's all real estate related, but I just have the right people in and just the cash just kind of takes care of itself. Once you get it to a certain point, real estate becomes very easy, very autopilot. And if you treat people really well, they'll do stuff for you the same way. Like, oh, I'm giving you this. And then they're like, oh yeah, it's no big deal. I'll go do that emergency, whatever, at whatever time, because it's for Dustin, because he does all this other stuff for me that he doesn't care about getting paid for. Yeah. He helps without any type of reward, being necessary. So I guess I just delegate the same way. I don't even know how many businesses I have, but my secretary did tell me that we have tons of LLCs, and each one of them just kind of dinks a little bit of money in here and there, $1,000, $500, $400, monthly, all this money comes in. Then sometimes you're like, oh, I'm worried about money because you forget where it all comes from. And then you go and look at your accounts and you're like, oh yeah, we're fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, good problems. So how about you? Like you, ever thought about moving out of Brookings, or, have you guys?
Yes, I did actually. We thought of moving to Minneapolis, and we were like, it probably would take us a few years to move. But as soon as we started thinking that we were going to move to Minneapolis, the whole state implodes with all their super liberal ideas. All of a sudden it just took over. But Minnesotans are the same as us in South Dakota. And so South Dakota for the most part. Yeah. And I can't understand how the shift is so different when you literally, I could drive 30 miles to Minnesota and everything's different. Yeah. So they have like this clamp. They have this clamp on you, in this more liberal areas. And I don't even care about politics. I care less if you're a conservative or liberal or whatever. I can sit down and break bread with you. But what I do care about is that all these Democratic governors are making all these rules, killing all the freedom in all these places. Yeah. To me, it seems odd and not very productive. And it seems like they're trying to do something else more than what they're saying. So I like a state where it's like me, just give me the freedom, give me the job. I'll do the job. I'll give you the job. You do the job. Let's just get our work done. And I feel like that's why South Dakota is like the best place to live. And I have such a freedom mindset. I don't know if I could live anywhere anymore.
Yeah, no, and I totally understand what you're saying, because I mean that was the thing. I mean, I moved to Portland, and it was obviously the best decision I made. I mean, I needed to kind of get out of that, but I mean that is the part I struggle with the most too, because it is so different. Like, I mean, the same way, like, I'm not political. I don't spend any time thinking about that. Whoever's the president, I'm going to support them. I'm a citizen of this country. That's my job, right? Like it's always something, right? But at the end of the day, it is difficult, because it's a difference in philosophy, right? I mean, it's just, and that's what you said. That's what I mean. Like you cross the border, you can sense it, you can feel it. It's just the way it's taken hold. And, Minnesota is a great example of that, is that it's been happening for years. And unlike a state like South Dakota, that's been, very steady in that regard. Like it hasn't changed much in that sort of the mindset and the way that they approach things. And so it is a bit, that's the hard part to shake, is when you're like, when it gets down to it, we sort of view things differently, and that's why a lot of people love Texas. Texas is, similar. Like they do their thing and stay out of their way, and pro-business and, all that stuff. And you kind of have that level of freedom, and it's hard to trade that,
Yeah, there's trade-offs on every single culture. And that's sort of what I realized, that, hey, this is too small of an area for me. I'm outgrowing this. I want to be connected to more people and all these other things. And then I realized, you know what, at the end of the day, freedom is actually the most important thing to me. Yeah. So I don't really want people to tell me what to do all the time. And South Dakota is like one of the top survivalist. It's like a survivalist state. Like they're like, oh, if you're dying out in your house, people might not be able to come and save you. It's just because you're so far away. There's a blizzard. So you got to figure out how to survive on your own. And that's totally my mindset. Yeah. Even though I love helping people, I just don't think the government should help people as much. Yeah. I feel like people should be a little more responsible for themselves.
Yep. I hear you, man.
But I love going to places like Portland and checking out their culture and all that. It's really, really neat. Yeah. So I love different parts of every area.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But where you're gonna call home, it does make a difference. And that's, you prioritize freedom, and what you can do is not many countries or places you can even have the optionality, right? And so when you do, you're going to take advantage of it. So do you hunt and fish and all that? I mean, that's other like big.
No, I don't even really hunt and fish.
No, I don't even hunt fish. Wow.
I mean, I would if it happens, but I don't. I play basketball and ride my bicycle, so I'm actually weirdly urban. Like I'd fit in just fine in Minneapolis and Portland and everything. Yeah. But too much of that, I feel like they push their philosophy too much. Like, I don't know. I'm just not political at all, so I don't like people shoving it in my face. Even though it sounds like I might be shoving political stuff in people's face right now, but
you're saying if you have your choice, you're just not even going to talk about it. That's the point.
Yep.
Like you just want to do your thing. You want to do what you care about, and you don't want to have to be bumping into all these other ideologies of that you have to navigate through. Understandable. Well, cool, man. Well, where can people find you? So like if they want it, is LinkedIn the place to kind of connect with Dusten, or what?
Yeah, I'm most active on LinkedIn. So if you go to LinkedIn, you can hook up with me. Mailboxmoneyre.com is my website, and you can go in there and click on invest now and give me your information, and I can start sending you deals that we're involved in. But yeah, we just, I have a serious passion for real estate, and I think everybody should own real estate because it's so powerful. Yeah. But I don't think everybody should operate real estate. I think there's a huge discrepancy between owning and operating. And most people think when you own real estate, you have to operate it. And that's far from true. You can become an LP investor and make just as much money and have none of the headaches. You have to be careful though, because you have to pick a good operator. Especially in syndication right now, I just feel like there's a lot of people that don't really know what they're doing, and they're just going for it.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, and that's just it. And that's what you can pick up. I mean, from you, it's like you got to develop those relationships, and then you yourself, it's like, that's why it's beautiful. It's like you have your own mandate. Like you said, I mean, hey, I don't like C-class neighborhoods. I'm not going to invest in that stuff. Right. I'm like, what you want. That's your mandate. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's the intent of the show is like, see inside the mind of someone who's like, I want to be full-time passive. Right. But where the active part of it is building relationships, finding the right people that obviously are finding deals that fit your mandate. If you don't know what you want, you're never going to find it. Right. Yeah. And that's part of this is that, and I guess it's simple and complex at the same time, but the simple part of it is that it's, to your point, it's someone's going to rent an apartment, right? And they want a nice place to live. And for you already know, having been a builder and all those things, like I think people generally like these types of amenities and these types of finishes, and they'll probably choose this over this other one, right? Yep. Like it's that simple. We all live someplace and we know what we like, and that's sort of how you do it. And then who can execute it? Who can go and find that stuff, and who can execute the business plan and do what they say they're going to do. It's just, that's the process, building those relationships, having your own mandate, what you're looking for, and then pointing in that direction. Because what we didn't talk about any is that, your take on, office and industrial or whatever. It's like, I'm assuming it's not part of your mandate. You're kind of like, no, I just like multi and I like mixed use and that kind of stuff. But simplify.
I have retail and I have office space in my local area. And the more international I go, the less I want anything, but I just want residential, pure residential.
Yeah.
I don't want any office. I don't want any retail. And there's reasons for that.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's a long-term view, and I just feel like I've absorbed it through osmosis. I don't really have a reason why I don't like office. I just have dealt with it for a while, and I see the way it works, and I just like the way that residential works much, much better.
Yeah, it has its own nuance and complexities, and you can make money in it, right? But it means you got to be committed to learning it, and you've got to be able to articulate, inform, and it's a different level, and one that, once again, with you got multifamily, it's easier to relate to. It's widespread use is needed. We are becoming a nation of renters. These are the shifts, right? So it's much more approachable. Obviously these are the things we talk about over and over and over again, but it is a good.
I feel like we've had a massive case study on how great work at home works.
Yeah.
If it works that great, why would these huge companies want to be spending that much money on space?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
and they're not, and that's what we're seeing. This is
just the tip of the iceberg. I think that there's just so many things that could happen, and we don't know what they are at all. But what we do know is that it's very easy to work from home, and we've proved it. Yeah. And the productivity is still there.
That's right.
So,
yep, it's good stuff. Cool, man. Well,
I don't know.
Yeah, I'll let you go, but it's been great getting to know you, and we'll stay in touch. And mailboxmoneyre.com for those who've missed that. Go ahead. You got one?
One more thing. Anybody that's looking to get into real estate, there's one simple tip that I tell them. When you walk the grounds, your body sort of knows if people want to rent there. But now it can't be resort style. It can't be like a place that you never want to leave, but it can't be a place that when you show up, you want to move out immediately. So when you pull up to the place and you're like, let's get out of here, don't buy that place. Do not buy it. It's going to be a nightmare.
It's true. Or you're all twitchy and stuff, like you got a duck, like there's going to be a drive-by. Not good. Not good. Yeah. So I love it. Yeah. That's the Goldilocks approach, right? It's like, it's too comfy. It's too this. It's like, no, it's got to be just right. You're like, you can stay and live here, and that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, the resort level place is not going to kick off as much cash, and the D-class property, or what I call demo, they should be demoed. They shouldn't even be sold. D-class, those there you just hit, man, you have so many problems. Your turnover is ridiculous. Your costs are so high.
Yeah. Yeah. It's scary stuff. It's stuff like I said, you're better off just tearing it down and building something new. Yeah. Cool, man. All right. Well, take care. It's good catching up.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Yep. We'll see you.